Whether it was just a case of fans logically putting 2 and 2 together based on what they'd seen in the lead up to a project's release, or people even simply just throwing out an outlandish idea and hoping for the best. All of the following Star Wars theories actually turned out to be entirely accurate in the end. I'm Gareth, this is What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 more Star Wars fan theories that became fact. Number 10, Hayden Christensens return for the final Skywalker Saga episode. Coming into the final chapter of the epic Skywalker saga, fans were obviously incredibly hyped up. After decades of gripping storytelling, the 9-episode main Star Wars story was going to be wrapped up by J.J. Abrams' Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. So naturally, lovers of this galaxy far, far away went into theory overdrive in the time between Episode 8, The Last Jedi, and this 2019 sequel. One particularly popular theory that was doing the rounds before this last episode focused on the return of none other than the Chosen One himself, Anakin Skywalker. With his name being right there in the title, some, including the folks over at Esquire, just felt like the time was right for a Hayden Christensen comeback as Annie. Add into that the fact that Christensen was seen wandering around Galaxy's Edge in the lead up to the film's release, and had also been making some appearances with a name already confirmed to return in that movie, Darth Sidious actor Ian McDiarmid, and it's not hard to see why fans had a good feeling about the rise of this Skywalker. And sure enough, Christensen would return in Episode 9. Now sure, it wasn't a full cameo or appearance like fans would eventually get in the Obi-Wan Kenobi or Ahsoka shows, but hearing Christensen's unmistakable voice when Rey hears the Jedi of the past on Exegol was still a wonderful moment, and a fan theory come true. And while we're talking about cameos in Star Wars, I want to know right now, what is your favourite Star Wars cameo of all time? You let me know in the comments section down below. Number 9, The World Between Worlds makes its live-action debut. Anyone who has ever enjoyed the 4-season ride that is Star Wars Rebels will know all too well how crucial the World Between Worlds is in the story of Ahsoka Tano. During that animated show, the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker was pulled into this strange realm by Ezra Bridger, just before she could be defeated by Darth Vader. So with Ahsoka finally being given her own live-action show in 2023, fans were quick to wonder whether this could lead to her returning to the mystical plane of the Force, which connects all space and time. Marketing material for that show seemed to hint at the World Between Worlds being a part of her quest to find Ezra Bridger and Grand Admiral Thrawn too, with moments in the trailers and even its logo looking like they had some connection to the realm. Of course, Rosario Dawson's Tano very much ended up back there after being thrown into the ocean by Baylan Skoll on Cetos. Only this time, instead of joining forces with Bridger to fight off the Emperor, Tano came face to face with her past, as Hayden Christensen's Anakin/Vader finished her training, and viewers were pulled right back into the Clone Wars. This incredibly compelling time-traveling sequence was something even those who dreamed of a live-action return to this truly bizarre section of the galaxy far, far away were not fully prepared for, and it gifted fans some of the most epic moments and visuals of the entire Disney Star Wars era. If you've not checked it out yet, what are you doing? Number 8, the title of Episode 9 and Palpatine's return. Now here's a spooky one. While the prior 2 entries have focused on those theories which clever fans landed on after joining the dots found in promotional material or social media, this one actually seems like a real-life case of the Force guiding an individual towards the truth. You see, a whole 7 years before Ian McDiarmid's Emperor made his divisive return in Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, one fan sent out a ridiculously prophetic post on Twitter, or X, or whatever it is. Said post, tweeted just a month after Disney announced they would be making new Star Wars movies in the wake of purchasing Lucasfilm in October 2012, contained not only a comment stating they felt Palps would be making a comeback at some point in the sequel trilogy, but a now rather familiar title. The episode Gabriel Garcia was speculating about may have been 2 movies early, but after reading the rest of that post, which contained what would eventually become the Episode 9 title of The Rise of Skywalker, you'd be forgiven for thinking this person had seen the future in a portal within the World Between Worlds. At GabbyG41 would then comically later add that their theory also consisted of Palpatine being rescued by Imperial guards, before they then healed him with General Grievous parts. A cyborg Emperor may not have come to pass, but a lot of this theory surprisingly aged like a fine wine. Number 7, Barriss Offee becomes an Inquisitor. Another popular theory being circulated in the lead up to the live-action Ahsoka show's first season involved the titular character's one-time best bud. Before that series debuted, former Padawan Barriss Ofie, voiced by Meredith Salinger, infamously framed Tano for an attack on the Jedi Temple, before eventually being imprisoned by the Jedi. The damage was done though, as the whole ordeal understandably caused Ahsoka to lose faith in the Order, and turn her back on it in the animated series. And while we would eventually witness what was next for Tano in the years that followed, an Ofie who had also grown disillusioned with the Jedi was never seen again. In the wake of Order 66, Darth Vader would command a bunch of Force-sensitive dark side users known as the Inquisitors, with these individuals hunting down the last remaining Jedi in the galaxy. So with Ofie also not exactly being the biggest fan of the Jedi, it made sense that she would have eventually been recruited by the Empire. It may not have ultimately occurred in Ahsoka, with Ofie not actually being revealed as the person underneath Marok's mask, but this fan theory was officially made part of the canon during the brilliant Tales of the Empire animated show instead. Here, fans see Ofie suit up as an Inquisitor, become disenchanted by the Empire, and then eventually find her place as a healer, before being impaled by the fourth sister. It may have taken a while for this intriguing theory to blossom into a compelling 3-episode tale, but it was certainly worth the wait. Number 6, Han Solo dies at the hands of his son. After trying to get his lovable smuggler killed ever since the days of the original trilogy, Harrison Ford finally getting his Han Solo death wish in Episode 7 The Force Awakens did feel a bit inevitable. Exactly how that death would go down though was still something many fans enjoyed theorizing about. As revealed in a The Guardian piece that was published before the film's release in 2015, some even felt that Solo could actually be murdered by his old pal Luke Skywalker in the first entry into the sequel trilogy. In this theory, Luke would strike down Solo as a way of saving someone else. That certainly would have made for a quite heartbreaking visual right there. Witnessing one icon being forced to cut down another on the big screen, it just hurts. But while that shocking theory obviously never made it into theaters, the same could not be said for the one found directly underneath it. That rumor/theory involves Solo being dispatched by his own quote-unquote alleged son Kylo Ren. And what do you know, a whole 8 months after that article was published, that's precisely what went down within Starkiller Base, with Adam Driver's former Ben Solo stabbing his pops with a lightsaber. Thanks for checking out this Star Wars video today, you lovely, lovely person you. Now go and tap that subscribe button and you're gonna get more of this What Culture Star Wars stuff on your screen. You're a lucky, lucky person. Now back to the video. Number 5, Morgan Elsbeth is a Nightsister. Around the time of her debut during the second season of The Mandalorian, there was a lot of discussion about whether or not Diana Lee Inosanto's Morgan Elsbeth was actually a Nightsister. You see, according to a hairstylist working on that Star Wars show, this magistrate was one of the last survivors of Dathomir. So this, inevitably, along with Ahsoka Tano mentioning how her people were massacred during the Clone Wars, led to a ton of people assuming that this actually meant she was part of the famous clan of witches found on that particular planet. There were actually a number of tribes on this world, so there was always a chance Elsbeth could have just been from one of those instead. However, as Inosanto would eventually reveal herself at Los Angeles Comic-Con in 2023, she was actually aware from the very beginning that her character was very much a Nightsister. Keeping that secret incredibly close to the chest though, it wasn't until the first season of Ahsoka dropped when fans finally learned that their theories about her being one of these powerful witches were completely true. With Elsbeth's devastating backstory as a Nightsister, she survived General Grievous' aforementioned vicious attack on them in Star Wars The Clone Wars, even being explored in the recent Tales of the Empire series too. Number 4, Rex is Nick Sance. Well, sort of. Becoming a rather adored member of the galaxy far, far away during his time in both Star Wars The Clone Wars and Rebels, Captain Rex, voiced by D. Bradley Baker, would eventually find himself at the center of a seriously fascinating fan theory. Thanks to the rather glorious big white beard Rex eventually grows during his later years in that latter series, a decent section of the Star Wars fanbase began wondering whether one particular rebel in Episode 6 Return of the Jedi was actually secretly the clone icon all along. Said freedom fighter went by the name of Nick Sant, and looked just like Rex during his time in the Rebels show, which eventually leads into the original trilogy. Add in the fact that Rebels creator Dave Filoni himself strongly felt the former 501st man was the bearded old guy on Endor, and you have a fan theory that was pretty much destined to be made official at some point. However, rather than fully committing to this being canon, Filoni, wanting to let the fans decide for themselves if Rex was Sant or not, instead just decided to leave the show in a state where you could believe one way or the other. So if you want to believe this Rebels/Rex theory is a Star Wars fact, then you're well within your rights. Number 3, Din Djarin will wield the Dark Saber in Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Without doubt, one of the coolest weapons to ever pop up in the galaxy far, far away, the Dark Saber has been wielded by some of the most important characters in Star Wars history. And with its reintroduction in The Mandalorian's first season, some felt like it was only a matter of time before a certain Din Djarin found himself being added to that impressive list. One that also includes Maul, Pre Vizsla, Sabine Wren, Bo-Katan Kryze, and Moff Gideon. After watching that last name slice his way out of a TIE fighter in that first season's finale, a number of fans began to speculate on Reddit that Season 2 would see Pedro Pascal's character hold that sacred Mandalorian weapon too. Now, it may have taken the entire season to get there, but this prediction/theory turned out to be quite accurate in the end, as Mando not only bested Gideon in a fight and technically won the weapon from him, he also walked into a room with it ignited. And this was something that definitely came as an unwanted surprise to a Bo-Katan who knew just being handed the weapon once again, instead of winning it in combat, would make her claim to the throne of Mandalore illegitimate. Still though, a lot of fans just knew from the moment they saw Gideon holding that ancient black blade that it was bound to end up in Mando's mitts, even if he didn't actually fully start swinging it around until the likes of the Book of Boba Fett and Mando Season 3. He still ignited it in Season 2 though, so it counts. Number 2, Darth Plagueis will appear in The Acolyte. Throughout the latest Disney Plus chunk of live-action Star Wars that is The Acolyte, theories were being thrown out left, right and centre, with many being about precisely who the Sith Master pulling the strings in the shadows actually was. Chimere, aka the Stranger, may have been trying to recruit May as his own pupil, but this one-time Jedi Padawan also must have had his own teacher of the dark side, right? And some fans even speculated that it could even be one of the witches who helped raise/create May and Osha, Mother Coral. However, the most popular theory that was present online as each new episode was released, and even in the time before the show's Disney Plus debut, involved the long-awaited big screen arrival of the legendary Force user who eventually trained Sheev Palpatine. And in the finale, that piece of speculation finally became a reality, as it was very much revealed that Darth Plagueis was not only lurking on the world where Chimere took Osha in the show, he was also the former's master. That's according to showrunner Leslie Headland, who confirmed the popular fan theory to Entertainment Weekly, that Plagueis was indeed the one who taught Chimere the ways of the dark side. The creator also noted to Nerdist that, if she's given the chance to, Headland knows how she'd like to continue telling the Sith Lord's story right up to the point in the timeline where he trains the future Emperor. More Plagueis, you say? Do it! And number 1, Kellin Beck hid Grogu after Order 66. For a while there, every single Star Wars fan on the damn planet had their own intriguing opinion about who actually saved little Grogu from being killed during Order 66. Some felt that it just had to be a Mace Windu who definitely did not die during Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. Others predicted that everyone from Barriss Offee to Quinlan Vos helped get Baby Yoda to safety. And then there was this one fan on Twitter/X back in December 2020, who ridiculously suggested that a character played by the bloke who also portrayed Jar Jar Binks was the person who really hid Grogu from the Empire. Fast forward 2 and a bit years, however, and this fun little theory about Ahmed Best Jedi Master Kellin Beck, the guy who supervised younglings and guided them through challenges in the Star Wars Jedi Temple Challenge Kids game show, being the heroic Jedi who rescued Grogu from the clones on Coruscant, only went and became a Star Wars fact. That reveal finally went down in The Mandalorian's 3rd season in March 2023, as at Keldor Jedi's bold theory remarkably became a compelling part of franchise history during Chapter 20, The Foundling. What a weird old galaxy, eh?